The dawn brought with it a fragile sense of calm, but it was fleeting, like the mist that clung to the trees before the sun burned it away. Adanna rose quietly, careful not to wake Amaka and Kine, who slept soundly beside her, their faces innocent and untouched by the fears that gnawed at her. The small hut, though ancient and decrepit, had provided shelter, but it could not offer the safety she sought for her children. Outside, the forest remained still, the towering trees standing like solemn guardians. Yet the silence was unnerving. It was the kind of silence that whispered of danger, of secrets best left unspoken. As Adanna stepped out into the clearing, she felt a chill run down her spine. The air was cool, crisp even, but it wasn't the cold that unnerved her. It was the sense of being watched, a feeling that had plagued her since they had entered the forest. She glanced around, but the woods betrayed nothing, only the rustle of leaves as the wind moved through them. A soft sound behind her made Adanna turn abruptly. Amaka stood in the doorway, rubbing her eyes, her small frame silhouetted against the dim light from within the hut. "Mama," she whispered, "are we leaving?" Adanna nodded, trying to summon a reassuring smile. "Yes, my child. We must continue. We cannot stay here." As they gathered their few belongings, Ken stirred, his small face etched with confusion. "Mama, where are we going? Will we find Papa and the others?" The question hit Adanna like a blow to the chest, but she kept her voice steady. "We are going to find a place where we can be safe, where we can be together without fear." Kene nodded, though the worry did not leave his young face. He didn't ask about his father again, and for that, Adanna was grateful. The memories of Obinna, Chinelo, and Chizoba were too raw, too painful to voice. They set off once more, the forest closing around them as they left the clearing behind. The path was less clear now, more overgrown and twisted, as if the forest itself was trying to keep them from moving forward. Adanna led the way, her senses heightened, every sound and movement catching her attention. It wasn't long before they reached a fork in the path, two equally unwelcoming trails diverging into the depths of the forest. Adanna paused, uncertainty gnawing at her. She had no map, no guide, and every decision felt like a gamble with her children's lives. "Which way, Mama?" Amaka asked, her voice small but steady. Adanna scanned both paths. The one on the left was darker, with trees so thick they blocked out most of the light. The right path was slightly wider, the trees less dense, allowing more light to filter through. Neither path looked particularly inviting, but there was something about the left path that made Adanna uneasy. It felt wrong, as if the darkness itself was alive, waiting for them to step into its grasp. "We will take the right path," Adanna decided, her voice firm. "Stay close to me." They walked in silence, the tension palpable. Adanna kept her eyes forward, but she couldn't shake the feeling that the decision she had made at the fork had been a crucial one, that somehow their fate hinged on that choice. She pushed the thought aside, focusing on the immediate task of keeping her children safe. As they continued, the path began to slope downward, the ground becoming uneven and rocky. The trees, though less dense, seemed older, their gnarled roots breaking through the earth like twisted fingers. Adanna helped Cain navigate the difficult terrain, her eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. Then, without warning, the air grew thick with an unfamiliar scent, sweet but cloying like rotting fruit. Adanna froze, her senses on high alert. The scent was overpowering, filling her nostrils and making her head spin. She recognized it from the stories she had heard as a child, tales told in hushed tones around the fire, the scent of the dead. "Mama, what is that smell?" Amaka asked, wrinkling her nose. Adanna didn't answer immediately. She knew what the scent meant, but she couldn't tell her children, couldn't frighten them more than they already were. "It's nothing," she lied, her voice tight. "Just the forest, let's keep moving." But the forest had other plans. The path ahead was blocked by a massive tree, Its trunk split down the middle as if struck by lightning. The tree was ancient, its bark dark and weathered, but it was not the tree that held Adanna's attention. It was what lay at its base. A small mound of earth recently disturbed, and beside it a single weathered stone half buried in the ground. It was a grave. "Stay here," Adanna instructed, her voice trembling slightly. She approached the grave cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. There was no name on the stone, no markings at all, just the stark reminder of death. As Adanna knelt beside the grave, she felt the air grow colder, a chill that seeped into her bones. She reached out to touch the stone, her fingers trembling, but before she could make contact, a voice, a soft, whispering voice, filled her ears. "Leave this place," Adanna gasped, pulling her hand back as if burned. She spun around, but there was no one there, only the wind rustling through the trees. But the voice had been real, she was sure of it. It was not her imagination, nor was it a trick of the forest. "Mama?" Amaka's voice broke through the silence, filled with concern. "What is it?" Adanna stood quickly, forcing herself to remain calm. "We need to go, now." "But why, Mama?" Kine asked, his small voice shaking. Adanna didn't answer. She grabbed both of her children's hands and began to pull them away from the grave, back up the path. But as they turned to leave, the ground beneath them began to tremble. The trees around them groaned as if in pain, their branches reaching out like skeletal hands. The grave at the base of the tree began to shift, the earth churning as if something or someone was trying to claw its way out. Adanna's heart raced, her mind screaming at her to run, but her legs felt like lead. She tightened her grip on her children, pulling them close as the ground beneath the grave split open. What happens next? Watch out for part 3.